Welcome to Game and a Half Podcast, a podcast covering everything in gaming. Today we're going to be taking a look at r/True Gaming on Reddit, as well as talking about our experience playing Borderlands 3, which was just recently released. My name is Kai.
And my name is Jared. Lots of time playing Borderlands. We've been playing a lot of Borderlands. But first, we're going to be talking about Apple Arcade. Apple had a big press conference recently. The date in which escapes me. Last week sometimes. I don't remember.
Doesn't matter.
But they announced a lot of stuff for Apple Arcade, which, if you don't know, is Apple's kind of subscription-based gaming service. I didn't know it comes out the 19th. So it comes out next... I almost said month. It comes out... I'm a little sleepy. We just ate and...
We just ate ribs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ribs.
Full and tired and content. But
just so many ribs.
Apple Arcade comes out September 19th, and a couple months ago we got a trailer for it that showed off a couple of the games coming to Apple Arcade. Some of them were from familiar developers. Some of them were sequels to games we already knew about that are exclusively coming to Apple Arcade, so that's pretty cool. We found out that Apple Arcade is going to be $4.99 a month, which, to my existing knowledge, is the cheapest game subscription service that exists currently. I know you can get bundles and stuff with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. That's like bundled with their live service. What's cool about Apple Arcade is you can play these games offline, so you don't have to be connected to an internet connection or anything. It does say it's ad-free, which I don't think any other subscription services have ads, so I mean, I guess that's cool.
That's cool.
Let's see. It works with multiple screens, so you can use iPhone, iPad, Mac, and Apple TV. I think the Apple TV is a really, really cool one. But there's going to be 100+ games at launch. Some of them are going to be Where Cards Fall by Snowman, The Pathless from Annapurna. Oh, that was the Annapurna representation, was this game called Pathless. Lego Brawl's Hot Lava, which is kind of the floor is lava game, which is a pretty cool concept. Oceanhorn 2. So this was the sequel.
AKA Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild has had a hard time. Everyone is just assuming.
Breath of the Wild hasn't had a hard time.
No. Breath of the Wild hasn't had a hard time.
Other developers have had a hard time
coming out,
blatantly copying something and not getting called out on it.
We need new ideas for an adventure game. Well, Breath of the Wild was pretty successful. Let's put a sword in man's hand.
A certain art style with a young boy and let him pick up barrels. Oh, wait.
I think it's funny because it'd be like if they just changed, like made the main character female or anything like that. I think it would completely change the whole thing. Anyways, Oceanhorn was a game that originally it's out on every console, PC, but the sequel is exclusive to Apple Arcade. So it's really cool to see a franchise that's already existing on consoles that are out now, and a sequel coming out on a service, an exclusive on a new service. So those are a couple of the games coming out. I mean, I feel like $4.99 is a very reasonable price for this.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't include any in-game transactions.
Right.
So which seems interesting to me, because it would seem like a better plan to do free Apple Arcade and then do
just
microtransactions. Because that seems to work really well for certain game companies, i.e.
I think it
Fortnite company, Apex, etc.
Right. I think it makes more sense for like the company when they're thinking about like a free-to-play system and having microtransactions in it, so people can have this game for free and then they can use any other money. But like the society of gaming negatively looks at microtransactions. So it makes sense for Apple to be like, hey, we're not going to put any monetization in this games.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any ads. You don't have to pay for anything. You just pay your $5 a month and you get all these 100+ games on a slew of your devices. So I think people gravitate towards that a little more. They're a little more like, oh, okay, cool. I don't have to pay microtransactions. I don't have to pay more to experience the full game, which whether or not that's beneficial on Apple as a company, as a financial decision, I guess we'll just have to find out. I mean, it's not like they're low on funds for the time.
Well, they're the wealthiest company in the world.
It's Apple, so
$1 trillion. So.
If anyone's going to...
Well, and also, everyone has a console now.
Right.
Because we both have Macs. I have an iPhone. We have an Apple TV. So, they just use their existing devices.
Right.
It's kind of like what... I'm pretty sure it was called Arcade originally. I don't know if anyone remembers this. But on the original iPhone, there was like a game where it stored all your points from apps and like certain games. I think it was called Apple Arcade. And the whole point was like a social aspect to like app gaming. But now that they have more computing power on their devices, including their smartphones, and now that streaming and 5G and 4G has gotten so good, they have the opportunity to put much more like technically advanced games onto smaller and smaller devices. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it goes.
I mean, another really cool thing with the Switch being out, the whole idea of having a home console and then being able to take that home console on the go with a more mobile style of gaming. Apple Arcade also plays into that because you can start playing on one device and then pick up on another. So you can have like an iPhone or an iPad or your Mac and be out, and then have an Apple TV at home, and then come home and continue to play on your TV and then take it on your phone.
And obviously the way it's built, it allows people to run games that they would otherwise not be able to on devices that wouldn't be able to run them.
That's what's beneficial for the whole streaming process.
Which is what Google Stadia is kind of aiming to do.
Right.
Which good for Apple for getting this out.
I mean, it's kind of smart,
quickly.
Like no one. I mean, this and Google Stadia is kind of similar in the sense. I mean, I don't remember if they announced the price for Stadia. But it's smart for them to be like, get this out first and see how it goes. And if people are like, wow, this is amazing, then Stadia is like $20 more expensive. And it's kind of the similar style.
I think the one thing that Stadia is going to have going for it
has
is
bigger
titles.
Right. It has the Assassin's Creed. It has like Cyberpunk 2077 is like big AAA games are coming to Stadia.
I just think that's going to be more effective. I don't think being there first necessarily means everything.
I don't think so.
This seems very Apple to me.
Matter.
Is the what?
I was like, your opinion doesn't matter.
My opinion doesn't matter. Well then, why am I here? Trophy host.
Trophy host.
I don't know. It just seems so Apple to me. It's like, it's so bubbly.
In a bad way?
Yeah, in a bad way. And I appreciate Apple products. I really do. They're easy to use. They're fun to use. But this seems kind of the same way where it's like, it's close. But
it's not there yet.
It's not there. It's like the games that they released are like, yeah, but I wouldn't play any of them.
Right.
It's like, wow, this is really cool, like streaming games.
I don't know. I saw a lot of games on there that are very indie that I feel like were right up your alley. Like the...
Yeah, but I wouldn't pay the $5.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, you're looking at all the titles of the games, and you're like, wow, that one looks cool. But then you're paying $5 a month for one game out of the 99.
You know what it's like?
Games.
It's like the Nintendo store on the Switch. There's like
why can't I think of the name? Virtual Console.
Yes. There's like one game on the store, and then there's like a million games that are like 97 cents or like 5 cents. The reason is because no one buys them.
Yes.
Like, you can say you have 100 plus titles, but if there are 100 plus titles that no one's going to play,
garbage.
It's not useful. You can't just... It's great advertising.
It's funny on like on the Switch Online, there's games that are... Because they have like a time slot for their deals, like game deals every week or every couple weeks or so. And there's always like 2 or 3 titles that are always on. They're like, what's $5.99? Now it's like 4 cents, but people still don't buy it.
No,
it's a bad
it's just
game.
Bad. And that's the problem, is that just because something exists doesn't mean people are going to play it. It has to.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, I wish Apple good luck in this, mainly because this is going to become more prevalent. I mean, it's just inevitable. It's going to, regardless of people's opinions of where, like, streaming games is going to go.
This is the future for, like, games, I feel like, going forward. Yeah. I mean, this already exists on, like, PlayStation has PS Now, and Xbox has their Game Pass. Right. We have Stadia coming out. Like, this is, a lot of people were uncomfortable with the whole paying for games and not owning them. I mean, when the first talk of a new Xbox was coming out, and there's an idea of an Xbox being fully like discless and being fully digital, people freaked out. They're like I'm not gonna be able to use my discs. Like that's crazy. And this whole digital era was like not flying for a lot of people.
This is gonna be a hypocritical statement, but I mean the same thing happened with music, and people had physical copies of music, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, oh my god, streaming music, like,
Right.
artists aren't getting paid, and we don't have a physical album, and what happens if everything goes down and we don't have music anymore? And
Now that's the only way people.
and now everyone
most
listens to Spotify. And this is hypocritical because I collect physical copies of music. I collect vinyl. So I understand. I'm one of the crazy people who's holding on to an N64 cartridge like, I still have the game.
I wish I still had my N64 cartridge.
But,
I really do.
you know, it's everyone does.
I mean, I just bought a copy of Super Mario Sunshine, so I mean,
For GameCube, yeah.
for GameCube, and I pray that it comes to Switch, because if it comes to Switch, I'll buy it again, and I'll have it on Switch, but I'll keep my GameCube copy, because I'll have that copy, that physical
Right.
copy.
And I think there is something unique in humans that drives us to want something physical.
Physical, yeah.
Something real.
Physical.
And especially as things become less and less physical, we kind of hunger for those objects that we can hold and call our own. So
it makes the physical things have more value to them. So
Yeah.
I mean, when there's only things that are digital, it's really nice having that physical thing that you can hold and touch.
and this
store
kind of
display.
segues into our next topic, is what we were talking about is
Segues for days.
segues for days.
I gotta interrupt
Is
your
talk-
segue to look for the article we're talking about.
It's talking about well, I'll let you take it away since you have the article in front of you.
I don't remember what it was.
You don't remember what it was?
Is this the one? Expecting to know anything about games? Oh yeah. So it's about. I forgot. It's about people feeling like they need to have a certain amount of information given to them before they purchase a game. And it seems like nowadays more and more we have almost the full package. I use Pokemon games as an example because the last couple games people really want to with having more skill, they've been able to dive in and data mine these games and then post them, and then we have the entirety of like every Pokemon that was just now created in the story, and everything's created, and people want to know that stuff before the game comes out. And this Reddit user right here, u/Excalibur44, is just talking about why people have to have this information before they're buying the game. I'll read a little bit about it here. He says he knows it's mainly for marketing to get people's attention, but if you heard about a game being released, learn nothing else about the game, and then you hear about the game releasing, turns out the game is shit, so you won't buy it. And he said, now let's try something different. What if the game is marketed tremendously well, and everyone started to build a train hype? Maybe you hop on this hype, maybe you don't. The game looks like it's going to be a massive success, then the game releases, and you find out the game is shit anyways, so you won't buy it.
No Man's Sky.
That's the example we're going to use, because I remember hearing about No Man's Sky's release, and
It sounded so good in theory.
just on paper.
And wait, hold on. Let's take a moment and actually, No Man's Sky is a good game.
Oh, it's phenomenal. And it's phenomenal now. I mean, that's the thing. It's so funny because, again, I remember we were in LA or something.
Yeah, we were just driving in traffic.
And then I was showing you the trailer for it and the concept, and you're like,
This is gonna change the world.
This is gonna change the world.
No,
and
was I
everything.
wrong?
And then the game came out, and Sean Murray scuttled into a cave and hid under a rock. And he's like,
Just hissed.
I'm gonna wait for this to die down because I said a lot of things that I didn't really know was
I
gonna
was
be
on
the
a
game.
lot of coke. I don't remember what I said.
I mean, luckily for him and the team on that made that game,
Hello Games, I think.
Hello Games, yeah, thank you, because I forgot the name. Hello Games they've done a tremendous job supporting that game over the years, having huge free updates that completely changed the game. I mean,
They're not a
like
Destiny.
you were saying, the game's good now. Well, even like with Destiny, I mean, like a lot of people got screwed over with Destiny day one, that bought the game day one. People were upset because there was a lot of content just locked behind a pay window. All that stuff was done, and it was still in the game, but you had to pay for all the DLCs to unlock it, and people didn't like that. I mean, it's different when you flush out a game, and then after the game comes out, the team's continuously working more on stuff. The game's not, the
But it's like we're gonna
isn't
give you
there.
50% of a game for $60, and then you can buy the rest of the game for even more money.
Right. See, I bought Destiny way later. I bought it with the Taken King expansion, and I enjoyed my time with Destiny.
And we bought No Man. We're the wait and buy games.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Initiative. We bought No Man's Sky for like $7 at GameStop used after it was completely destroyed by the industry, and then they released the update for it, and it's great. It's so fun. It's such a good game.
Attaching that back to this article, I feel like I don't wait because I need to see more information about the game. Like for me, I know, especially nowadays, a lot of the times games aren't quote unquote finished when they first release, and there's a lot of care that's done afterward that really makes the game amazing.
Yeah.
Plus, there's so many games. There is a shit ton of games that I will never in my life get a chance to play.
Yeah.
So I take the time, and I've talked about this, I think it was last podcast or the podcast before, where I buy 2 games a year, and that's one of the reasons why, because, I mean, if there's a game that I really absolutely have to have day one...
AKA Pokemon.
Yeah, or just anything that Nintendo's making, because actually... So I started that rule in 2017, and 2017 I bought Super Mario Odyssey, and I bought Breath of the Wild, and then 2018 I bought Smash, and I bought God damn it, I bought Pokemon Let's Go. So this was the first year that I didn't buy a Nintendo game because I got Borderlands 3, but I'm still buying Pokemon Shield when it comes out in November. I'm so excited.
There's some dedication.
But yeah, every year there's a lot of games that I'm really excited for because they look really good. Like Cyberpunk 2077 looks like it's going to be a phenomenal game, but it's one of those where I look at it and I can wait. I can wait till it's done. It looks amazing. I'm so pumped to have people experience it, but I can wait.
And that is the benefit of the culture we live in, and where everyone is trying to experience these games beforehand, and Let's Plays exist, and people have demo versions of games, and they're playing through them, and we constantly see them, is that, you really get to hone what you're going to enjoy.
Right.
Because, back in the day, you had a trade article from, Game Informer, or you were talking to someone at a gaming store, and that was all the information you had. You were like...
Yeah, I'm trying to think, so I didn't start I've played games my entire life, but following and really feeling a part of the gaming community has been, I would say, in the last, 7 to 8 years or so.
Yeah. Which is really when it started. I think it's when the world the internet had a huge role in it, and it's when a lot of people realized, oh, it's not just me.
Right. Well, I remember we were around at the time where having the internet in your house wasn't something that every single person had.
Yeah.
I didn't have internet in my house. I didn't have a computer in my house. I went to friends' houses to play on computers, and my grandparents had a computer, but I didn't have a computer and internet in my house, so it was just you'd go into a game shop or a pawn shop. That's where I would get my games, and be a fancy new Nintendo 64 cartridge, and you're like, that art looks cool, I'm gonna buy it. It says Zelda on it, I'm gonna purchase it.
And it starts an endless love and thousands of dollars poorly invested later.
I wouldn't say poorly.
I guess it's all in perspective.
Yes.
And then to the reverse of that, of if a game is overhyped and it's bad and everyone hates it, if a game is really good, I don't think the opposite exists. There's no game that's really good that goes undiscovered that's truly that good. Because there are games, first of all, there's about 8 quintillion game information databases, sites, YouTube channels, etc., etc.
But the only true
Infinitum.
one, Game and a Half Official, youtube.com/Game and a Half Official, where you can get all your, maybe not news.
Because we didn't want to pay for that podcasting service, so we brought it to YouTube.
It might come back, don't worry.
Don't worry.
All you people that didn't know it existed, I know you.
I know, you're listening right now. Yeah, I don't know if that exists anymore. There's not games that are hidden gems. I mean, maybe there's a couple, but hidden is kind of it doesn't exist anymore. Gaming is so huge that...
That's so funny, because I didn't really think about that, because I've watched a lot of YouTube videos which were game collectors talking about hidden gems you might have missed on consoles, but I never thought about that. That's not really a concept anymore. If a game was amazing, people know about it. It's not going to go under the radar.
Well, also, even those hidden gems that they're talking about, that back in the day were hidden gems, because you watched that video and 8 million other people watched that video.
It's not even a hidden gem anymore because everyone knows about it.
Well, I mean, and that's a huge problem in antique collecting realm, which I'm a part of. Is it's these huge sites like Hodinkee and stuff like that. They'll write an article about something that no one knows about, and all of a sudden the price quadruples overnight.
Right.
So it'll be oh, you should get this weird off-brand Donkey Kong game, and which was $7 the day before, and the next day you look on eBay, it's $57 a copy, and you're like, what the hell happened? happened?
I've been doing a lot of like garage sale and like pawn shopping, just to hope that someone doesn't have internet access. It's like, here's this Mario 64 for 2 cents. I'm like, I'll take it.
I have this weird translucent and gold Zelda 64 cartridge. I don't know where it came from.
I haven't been very lucky.
No one is. No one's.
But yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
That's all we got.
That's all we. Oh, so we're on to
it's on to B-Lands now.
Borderlands numero tres.
So Borderlands 3 came out Friday the 13th. I worked that day.
I mean, well, really, it was Thursday. It
came out Thursday the 12th.
Well, it's supposed to come out the 13th.
Right, that's its release date. Well, for a while...
we're on the West Coast, so yes. Easter time, wow. Eastern time at 12 o'clock is 9 o'clock here.
Right.
8 o'clock, so we can pick it up at 8.
But I remember like the times where there's midnight releases and staying up with my friends and like till midnight and getting games, and it's just like, we were like, wait.
This is the issue is with the vlogger community.
Right.
Is that if you have a discrepancy between the East Coast, it didn't matter before. No one was going to be like, people weren't losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because someone on the East Coast got a game 4 hours ahead of them.
No, there's just like, someone on the East Coast got a game 4 hours ahead of them. So like, why don't we just make this make sense?
Now people are like, all right, you can get it the night before, man, whatever. Like,
which I did. I picked it up the night before. Thought I installed it, didn't have enough space on my Xbox, so when I got home from work the next day, had to reinstall it. It was a bunch of hoops we had to jump through.
I may have been a little angry.
He was very upset.
Just a little mad.
I was very...
All right, well, where do we start?
So, your 4 characters that you have to choose from. Mose, the gunner. Flack, the Beastmaster. Zane... I don't know what Zane is. He's the
Zane, the guy.
Then there's Amara, the Siren. I've already voiced multiple times before that I was in love with non-binary Flack. So I picked Flack. Flack's, and I'm having an absolutely phenomenal time. I love characters that have, like, pets and creatures that you can...
and everyone else in the world enjoy
not
playing.
Fair. I loved him first. I was the first one to love him.
Sure.
Yes, I chose Flack. Who did you choose?
I chose Zane because I am a hipster.
How are you enjoying Zane so far?
I love Zane. This is one thing that we'll get into a little bit more right now, but I honestly think it doesn't matter what character you choose in the game. There's so much customization. There's so much skill tree building.
I will rebuttal to that and say it absolutely does matter because
it doesn't matter.
No, it does because even if you pick a character, the differences between the skill trees, at least that I'm noticing in Flack, completely changes your gameplay. So I feel like you can experience the game in completely different ways depending on what character you pick. And even if you do pick that character, one person's experience might not be the same as somebody else's. Someone that didn't play in split screen has incredibly awful lag when anybody opens the goddamn menu. Okay, I'm calling you for that later.
So, obviously, we're playing together, and
yes, we're playing split screen
because we live together. We're not gonna play separately online. That'd be weird.
That doesn't make sense.
So we play split screen on Jared's.
Which, well, mind you, 2019 is the game that has split screen, which I thought it was a good idea.
6-year-old Xbox.
Yeah, I still have a base Xbox. I got it like 2 months after it came out.
There's a hamster running on the inside of his Xbox. Let's just say it doesn't cope well running a game that's pretty technically advanced twice. So
essentially, right. But see, the only time you really see it is when someone else opens the menu.
Yeah.
Which mine is a lot.
I don't know if it's the only time you see it or if it's just so noticeable.
That's true. It could be that there's lag every other time. It's so exceptionally bad when opening a menu.
It's like watching a slideshow. That's what it's like. Someone opens a menu and all of a sudden your frame rate is 5 frames per second. We had to
establish a system where we let each other know because I'd be in like a heavy firefight and he'd open the menu.
Like, I gotta change. Like, well, also in a game where it's completely skill tree and gun related, changing guns in skill tree like skill points all the time is kind of a key part of the game, and like there's no convenient time to do it, so you're just doing mid-combat changing guns. He's like, oh, I need a shotgun now, and then all of a sudden the whole game drops to like 5 frames a second, and the person who is shooting, also if you're zoomed into a sniper scope and you're about to shoot and someone hits the pause menu, you're automatically canceled out of zooming into your scope because the frame rate drops so low.
Yeah, it's bad. But we're absolutely loving it. I mean, I guess we could start just in the beginning. I really enjoyed the intro, like how they showed off all the characters, and they're like, yeah, and in that bar, or they're getting
which is very traditional Borderlands.
Right, they're getting the advertisement on like the flyer of Lilith recruiting more people for Vault Hunters, and then you have the 4 people that are your new Vault Hunters. They break into this bar area. They're shooting down all the bad guys, and it shows off each character and kind of their abilities, and then it ends with the bus pulling up and it's saying who's coming along, and that's when you get to pick your character. It's
very opening of every Pokemon game ever,
like how it's like very similar to
Jesus
Earthquake. In the same if it's similar to the previous installments.
No, in the way that you get to pick your Pokemon.
Oh, okay. I thought like similar to Borderlands 2 had like kind of a similar
because like
opening.
Most of these games, like there's not an opening. You're just like, who's your character? And then you choose your character, and then it's like
Mortal Kombat 1994.
Look, man, I'm old, sort of. In gaming terms, I'm old. No, I just mean that like
you select your
you make it up front, and then the story's kind of based around it. And this one, it's like you watch all 4 of the leads go through this opening scene, and then you're kind of like get to be like, oh, I'm gonna choose this person. Well, also, and you get a cool introduction, which each of them, which
and they do a good job. I mean, again, going back to that article we talked about, if you just didn't look at anything about Borderlands 3, that intro kind of gave you enough information about each character for you to have a good decision of who you wanted to play.
Though I will say, the people who didn't know anything about Borderlands 3 going into Borderlands 3 is about 0.0005% of the people who play. Maybe one person.
Yeah. I doubt there's
someone's.
But I mean, it's hard because this is a third in an installment, so it's not like this is the first Borderlands and like it already exists as a franchise, so people know about it.
That's actually an interesting topic that we should cover. Is that like how much new IP is really coming out?
I mean, yeah, there isn't many. There's
like,
a lot of like.
Is it happening? What's happening in film? It's all just sequel based.
Well, not only. Bless you.
I'm so sorry. I think that's the first time I've ever sneezed on the podcast.
I'm so proud.
Wow.
It's the first. No. It is sequel based, but it is very similar to film, where they're just remaking a lot of games.
Like, this works. Assassin's Creed 24.
Well, like, and especially like on the Switch, because the Switch, I would say, is kind of behind these other consoles. So the Wii U was an absolute flop that had 0 support whatsoever. So when the Switch came out and everyone's like, oh, this is successful, let's put all these games that we probably would have planned for the Wii U and let's just put them on the Switch. So we have like every Final Fantasy ever is coming to the Switch, and a lot of games that...
Well, not only that, but Nintendo's notorious for just using the IP they've always had. Yeah, Nintendo's not coming out with like...
They tried. They did ARMS a couple of years ago.
Terrible. Or Splatoon.
No, Splatoon actually was really successful. I mean...
There's a difference between success and success.
Okay, well, it wasn't like Mario and Zelda levels of success, but it wasn't
no one's looking at the Splatoon characters like... Man, gotta take over.
Well, I mean,
gonna be the face of Nintendo.
This is a whole separate conversation that we need to have. Borderlands 3 is great.
Borderlands 3.
Go play it. It's phenomenal.
It looks really good.
I watched because when I first we played Borderlands. We beat Borderlands for like a year ago or so. Yeah,
maybe a little bit more than a year, 2 years.
So it's been a second. I mean, and when I looked at Borderlands 3, it visually looks better in the sense of like the environments look better, things are clearer, like
and you really get
the
to
shading
take
is different.
Your time. Really appreciating it with how slow the frame rate is. You're like, wow, look at the detail in this single frame.
But I watched a side-by-side from Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3, and oh my god, it is a huge, like Lilith looks like a weird scared skeleton, and then Lilith now is very, fleshed out and everything. So, again, the story starts off with Lilith is recruiting people for Vault Hunters, and they're opening, or they have a map to vaults that are around the universe, and there's like a
wow, you're doing a terrible job
I
explaining.
don't know. I don't play Borderlands for the story. I just like there's a lot of
you don't play Borderlands with the story.
I don't.
How dare you?
Again, Borderlands 2, I could not tell you what happened in Borderlands 2. We fought a dragon in the end.
We fought a dragon. I don't even know if it was a dragon.
It was a dragon.
It was some sort of giant beast. So far,
explain Borderlands.
We
3.
really shouldn't explain the plot because we're like 4% done with the game. So that's
I was gonna do a very vague explanation of what's going on.
So we've gotten a vault key or a vault map, which we had to re-energize with a character whose name I've forgotten by 2 villains whose names are so unrememberable that I've also forgotten.
Lilith.
He's not the villain.
No. Because Lilith was the person that we needed the re-energize the map.
No, because someone had to fix it first. Remember, we took it to a weird little hut, and then it was ambushed. See, this is why we shouldn't have gotten into this, because...
You're right, we don't really... I don't know the villains' names either.
No, they're vloggers, which is weird, but...
I would say that they're trying to do the same comedic relief humor as Handsome Jack. I feel like it doesn't land as well. I mean, Handsome Jack was also just an amazing... He was a great villain.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I think that there's some of the... I don't think the villains are as funny. Definitely. I just don't find them. Like, their weird humor. Also, that they're vloggers just doesn't land. I will say, though, that, like, Reese is a side
Reese
character that's hilarious. Reese Ball.
Reese Ball.
Reese.
Spoilers, man. The game just came
Reese
out.
Sphere. Spoilers. That's not even sort of important to the story. Well, I mean, maybe that's the key.
Maybe we don't know.
Maybe at the very end, someone gets shot and Reese Sphere jumps in front of the bullet. I don't know.
Aside from the story, which if you played the other Borderlands game, there is a slew of characters that you will recognize. Even though I didn't pay attention to the story in Borderlands 2, I still recognized a lot of characters that were from Borderlands 2. But really, the meat and potatoes of Borderlands is...
What if you're vegan?
The
tofu and potatoes.
The fake meat and potatoes of Borderlands 3, if you're a vegan, is the gameplay and the guns.
Oh, yeah. It's what Borderlands has always been about.
So many guns in this game.
And there's so much to do.
There's a lot to do.
If you're a completionist, don't start. You'll never finish. There's so many side quests.
You will die
collection.
Trying.
I mean, first of all, you'll never be able to collect all the guns. There's a billion of them, so it'll take more than your lifetime.
But which I don't think we did it in 2, but we played around a little more with side quests in this game, just because we were feeling a little underleveled in some of the boss fights.
Yeah,
and
you can run through this game and then all of a sudden start getting guns you can't use.
Right, because we just had an inventory of weapons that we couldn't use. And so we did some side quests. Side quests.
Add it to the words that we've invented.
It was the other one.
Story-oriented and side quests.
Side quests. And the ones we've done have been just as engaging as side quests. Just as engaging as the main story quests were. So I really enjoyed, and it again kind of made you explore other areas and then we went back to, like, the main story had us go back to these areas that we had already explored in the side quests in the first place, which was kind of cool. Yeah.
And I will say it feels way more open world than the second Borderlands, which is definitely like super path-based.
Almost to a literal sense of there is more worlds that you get to explore almost immediately in the game. Not very, like, maybe an hour in, you get to go to a different planet, and there's multiple different planets that you get to go and explore and then go back to and have other areas.
Also, I feel like there's way less, like, walls. Like, in the other Borderlands, you'd run up to something and you'd be like, I should jump on that, and then it's like, no, I'm sorry, you can't go over there.
Yeah,
but here it's like... Mainly the walls are environmental death, so you're gonna jump into a ravine of some kind, or lava, or water, etc., etc. But for the most part, you can explore almost everything other than, like, super far background stuff. So, like, which is great.
Right.
It makes it very enjoyable.
So you're playing as Zane. What kind of... Without giving away too much, what kind of skill tree did you go down? What kind of abilities are you exploring?
Let me go into this with excruciating detail. Just ruin everyone's day. Well, Zane has
guns. What guns do you enjoy using? Like, type of guns?
But I think that's, like, super specific to the player. I don't know how much use this is going to be, but I'm a semi-automatic,
high
damage kind of guy.
He's a fire rate hoe.
That's what I'm not a fire rate hoe. I like
fire rate hoe.
semi
He yelled at me because
automatic.
I was like, "Why are you just looking at the damage? You gotta look at the fire rate."
No, this is what's wrong. Luckily, in this game, all the guns are ranked by a number. Mm-hmm. So in the other game, that didn't exist. They were ranked by like.
You had to look at those stats actually.
Rare. Okay. I don't even know how to describe what I just saw. In the other game, they're ranked by like color, by rarity. This one, they're not only ranked by color and rarity, but they're also ranked by an actual literal number. So as you keep progressing through the game, the guns get higher and higher. Though obviously you can find guns in the 100s when you're like, level 14, and those aren't going to do you much good.
You will find guns that you're too low a level to use. That just is going to happen.
Yeah, but and also you'll find guns that are definitely just like crappy. Like, right. You're like, oh, this gun is like at 100, and all my guns are now 220s, 290s. So it's like
that's the problem with all the almost procedurally generated amount of guns that they have.
But there's so many guns that it keeps you interested. So it's okay.
I mean, I keep getting new guns that have new abilities all the time. I mean, now they have manufacturers, so when you see a manufacturer for a gun, you kind of know what you're getting into with that gun. Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention.
You can tell he is real invested. Yeah,
I love Borderlands.
Actually, a lot of the manufacturers have carried over like T-Door and Jacobs and all the gun manufacturers that you know and love are still carried over. There's just more gun manufacturers now that are more discernible. And obviously, like, Jacobs still kept its Western style. T-Door is more technological. There's a bunch of other ones there's a new gun manufacturer that does like specifically like laser weapons. There's another gun
ones.
Yeah, there's another manufacturer that does like kind of like biological weapons. So they're weapons that are like half gun, half animal. So I have one with like a weird breathing skin and teeth, but it's So obviously there's an unlimited amount of weapons in this game. So it's worth it. It's a great game. Play it. You'll have fun.
I enjoy the shotguns.
Yeah.
I use a lot of shotguns.
No one asked you. I wasn't going to ask you what you like.
My opinion is important.
I'm one half of this podcast.
I'm half of this.
I'm half of this podcast that's named after 1.5, which is very confusing who the other third is.
We have a little gnome baby that's trapped under in our dungeon that we keep.
Yeah, we film in a closet. Ooh, we record in a closet. Maybe we film things as well. I don't know.
We film things in this closet.
Just things you don't get to see.
Yes, I use shotguns. I really like the submachine guns, assault rifles when they're actually
Oh, really? Just naming all the
snipers,
snipers, shotguns, pistols. And I think that's the thing about the game is it's not about like the type of weapon, but it's how that weapon functions in general. Because there's pistols that function as better like assault rifles than assault rifles do.
100%.
And there's better assault rifles that function as snipers than snipers do. And there's snipers that are like shotguns.
Yeah,
and there's shotguns with snipers. It's very confusing.
The difference in this game than the other games is now guns have alt fires. So you can find a sniper that has a shotgun alt fire. You can have an assault rifle that has a rocket launcher alternative fire.
Like, that sniper may be like a really crappy sniper, but it may be a really amazing shotgun. So you're like,
It's really strange, but it also changes up how you play and everything.
Back to my skill tree.
Oh yeah, sorry, go for it.
Rudely interrupted me, or I interrupted myself. I don't remember.
I'm gonna go with you interrupted yourself.
There's 3 options for Zane, and obviously we can't speak to the other 2 characters that we haven't played as yet. But the 3 options for Zane are the Sentinel drone, which is a little robotic drone that you throw out and kind of hovers around the room, and I really haven't had a lot of experience with that. There's a big giant like shield. Which you can shoot from behind. You can shoot through one side, and bullets can't get through the other. Classic Halo shield dynamics. And then there is also
You can pick up the shield too, right?
You can pick up the shield and use it as like a full body shield as well when you run around. And then there is a holoclone of yourself, so it's like a fully functional, and it uses whatever gun you currently have equipped, and it'll fire at enemies and do like, I think it's less damage, and you can upgrade it to be like 2 clones and different weapons and
2 clones. Borderlands rap.
Wow. Oh wow.
Sorry, continue.
That was weirdly nerdy and offensive.
Continue. I'm Brown. Continue.
Too close. Yeah, I don't even know how you can move on from that. Anyway, they obviously you upgrade to the amount they stay out, what they can do, and you also regenerate health when they're out. So
yeah. I'm sorry that I broke your mind.
2 clones.
With 2 clones. So yeah, I'm playing as Flack. And
the everyone character.
The everyone character. And the difference between Flack's skill trees is what pet you have. So in one, you can have a Skag as a pet. The other one is, I think they're called the Rack. The little bats. I think they're called the Rack. I don't know. I just call them my bats. And
I just called them my bats.
My bats.
2 clones.
2 clones.
My bats.
And the little monkey with a gun. I don't remember what it's called. But
little monkey with a gun.
They're called something different in Borderlands.
What about the fire ant?
Oh, the bats are just an ability for you. Yeah, no. There's a spider ant that you can play as well.
He has terrible attention.
I use the bats every time we play. I say,
this is the guy who can name all 88 characters for Smash Bros. But as soon as a non-Nintendo game gets involved, he's like,
all 800 Pokemon.
I don't know if there's like a skill tree or something. I don't really pay attention to anything. I just like shooting stuff.
You know what? I don't need your shit.
He has the Hyrule Historia. He can tell you things in Zelda games that aren't even in the games. When it comes to Borderlands, he's like, I don't know the plot. I don't know what's happening. Bats. 2 clones.
I use the bats a lot. Every time we play Callier, we say, Ice Bats, go.
Ice Bats, go.
Because, see, and that's the thing that goes into your pet. Your pet really is kind of a side piece, and that's just doing damage. And you really don't have to pay much attention to it until it dies, and then you have to revive it, which is just another step. But for the most part, you don't really have to. It just gets pushed to the background.
If your pet gets a kill or downs an enemy, or if you also get revived.
Right, if you get down, because there's a whole second chance mechanic. If you get down, your pet kills somebody that revives you. So yeah, in those skill trees with each different pet, the abilities that you have, one is you can create a portal that teleports your pet to an enemy, and it makes your pet grow larger in size and does double damage. The other one, Ice Bats. Well, they're fire bats in the beginning.
Initially. And I'm sure there'll be electric and radiation and corrosive bats eventually.
So you have elemental bats that you can kind of toss, and bats. And then the last one is just you can turn invisible, and then you have 3 shots. So no matter what gun you're using, the first 3 shots automatically do critical hit damage. And then in that skill tree, it really focuses on Flack's health, and then the ability to get more critical hit damage. Like when you get headshots, they can ricochet and get other headshots, and those will automatically do critical hit damage. But I'm sticking with the fire ant, spider ant skill tree and using the bats, because that's what I use, is the bats. And I'm really enjoying it now that it has like ice, because there's a lot of elemental enemies that are like fire and some are cryo, and now having cryo, like having the opposite element does critical hit damage on some of the others. So yeah, I'm very much enjoying Flack. Another thing I really enjoy about this game that wasn't too much represented in the last one. I mean, we had Borderlands 2 that had all the DLC, so there was a lot more customizable options in that sense. But I feel like even with all the DLC in Borderlands 2, Borderlands 3 still has far more customizability than either of the previous 2. There's different heads that you can get, which completely change what your character looks like. There's different skins, which also, again, change what your character looks like. There's different weapon skins that you can get. There's different accessories that you can put on your weapon. Each person, if you were playing multiplayer, has their own room, which is where where you can store guns, and in that room you can buy
you can decorate it.
Decorations and stuff. So there's so much different customizable options in this game that we hadn't really seen before.
Reminds me of Emerald, Pokemon Emerald.
Why does it remind me of Emerald?
Oh, you don't remember the gun vault in Pokemon Emerald?
I'm sorry. I don't remember the gun vault and the critical hit head damage.
I remember I have a very small pool of games to pull from, if I'm being honest. I've played a lot of games, but I haven't played a lot of games, if that makes sense. So in Emerald, you had these like hidden layers, I think they were called, or hidden rooms.
Secret bases. And you could oh god. Oh no. Oh jeez, he turned on his flashlight.
Turned on the flashlight. secret bases where you could decorate them, and there was like objects you could get from winning like pageants and stuff.
They're called contests, but it's okay.
Oh my god. Do you see what I have to deal with? A guy who thinks that freaking fire ant isn't even one of the skill trees is correcting me on Pokemon knowledge that's like 13 years old. This is what I have to deal with. Anyway, yes, secret bases and contests and whatnot. It's the same kind of dynamic. You get to like personalize your world, which obviously just draws you deeper into it.
Right.
And like being able to like, initially you can change the colors of your costume. Like you don't have to spend any money to upgrade it. So you can be like, oh, I really think that this dark costume is sad. You can make it all yellow or all white or white brown. And there's like there's 6 color options for every outfit. So you can do like primary and secondary color of all your different elements.
And then the word that I always mispronounce, tertiary.
Tertiary,
I always mispronounce.
Tertiary.
But yeah, and in those colors, you can pick multiple. So in primary, it could be red and white. And then secondary can be like green and purple. And then your could be whatever color you want after that. So yeah, even in that, you don't have to spend money to get the customizable options. If you want more, like if you want more head or skins or gun...
I always want more head.
God damn it. If you're just dying for more head,
if you just want all the head,
you can use your iridium that you find to get more head in the game.
Yeah, it's great.
And more skins and more, which is really cool. That's another cool addition they had, because I think in the last game the kind of iridium shop was used more to upgrade your ammunition and your backpack and your vault.
And now that's all money based.
Yeah, and now that's all just the money that you find in the game, which is really cool. What else? I'm really enjoying the bosses. When I watched a couple reviews for Borderlands 3, the only complaint that they really had was that the bosses were just kind of bullet sponges, and it was really just like shoot them until they die.
Obviously, and a gun with a billion games. If the bosses hadn't involved nothing about shooting, I would be really sad.
But there's one boss in particular that, I guess this would be a spoiler warning if you don't want to know about a certain boss.
It's in the first 4% of the game.
But I think we ran into this boss by doing a side quest. So you might not even see this boss if you don't do the side quest.
Correct.
But there's a boss which...
The electro guy.
Yeah, so what he does is there's like hectagon shapes.
He's a freaking art major, by the way. He can't say tertiary and he doesn't know shapes. But he'll be successful.
There's hectagon shapes on the floor, and those hectagon shapes...
Are you sure they're hectagons?
Yes.
Are they pentagons?
I was gonna say hectagonal, but that sounded like a fake word, so I tried thinking what it actually was.
Hectagonal is not a fake word for those of you listening at home.
The floor is filled with hectagonal shapes. I was trying to be smart, and it didn't work. And what he does is those shapes will glow yellow in different patterns, and then those patterns will have electricity running through them.
Yeah.
So I think unlike a lot of the bosses that are just bullet sponges, with this one you really have to pay attention to the floor and jump around and move around a lot more. And he also has a big shield, so you have to jump around a shield. One person has to get the aggro while the other person's shooting him from the behind. So I think that this boss really changed up the dynamic of just being a bullet sponge.
And also, you can make the game more difficult at the beginning. There's like a difficulty selector, so it's like, and if you find even the game on the hardest difficulty too easy, you can always do missions that are above your level, which is incredibly difficult, which is what we learned, because we did a side quest that was like 3 levels higher than what we were, and we were like, we got this, we're 2 people, and we were like, oh,
it was impossible.
This is a lot of grinding that I didn't need to do or want to do, so.
One of the other, and this might be the last thing, one of the other things I really enjoyed about the game is now, in previous games, you had shared loot. So when you would open a chest or you defeat a boss and you get guns, those guns were the same for both of the characters. When we played Borderlands 2, we created our own little system. We would take turns opening chests, and then when we open a chest, each person would get the chance to pick any gun first, and then we'd switch off from doing that. In Borderlands 3, that function is still available, but they have a new function where both players can have completely different and unique loot that they find. So,
which is incredibly unfair, and it prefers one person to the other.
I just have gotten a lot of legendary and a lot of...
And I've gotten a lot of shit.
A lot of good guns.
A lot of nothing.
Gotten anything. It's random.
It's random. It's racist. It's racist against the Jews. It knows. It's like, oh, you played Flack, the character everyone loves. Oh, you chose Zane. That was a bold opinion.
Here's a common pistol.
Good luck, bud. You're gonna need it.
But yeah, so Kai can open a chest, and I'd walk up to it, and both of us will be seeing completely different guns.
Which is really disorienting, by the way.
It really is, because then if you pick up something and drop it, he can see it. So there's a bunch of guns splattered around the screen, and some you can see and some you can't, which is kind of interesting.
But that is the cool thing, is that if you pick up a gun and then throw it down, the other person can then see it and then take it.
Right. So if I do, which did happen, we beat a boss and I got a sniper, and it was a legendary sniper, and I was like, you know what?
I'll throw you.
I got enough of these.
My screen looked like a friggin' leprechaun patch because everything was just green for uncommon. What peasants use.
Is green uncommon?
Yeah.
What's green?
White is common.
Uncommon. Blue's rare.
White is uncommon. White is common. Green is uncommon.
Blue is rare.
Blue is rare. Purple is
super rare?
No. Super rare? Oh my god.
Well, then what's orange? Because orange is legendary. Then what's purple?
Purple is unique. I don't know. God damn it. What do?
Anyways, the while I save spaces while kind of looking this up, I had a sniper, and it was a purple.
White, common. Green, uncommon.
Okay,
Blue, rare. Level 4, purple, epic. 5, orange is legendary.
Okay, so I had an epic sniper, and it was from my loot box, and I gave it to him, and since I threw it down, he was able to pick it up and use it, which I don't even know if you ended up using it in the end.
I didn't. I don't use snipers. So.
One thing that I'm curious about, because with Zane, you actually can't use grenades. So I use grenades literally constantly, so how is it not being able to, because I mean you clearly use grenades.
So your shield counts as your grenade is what I realized. So when you pull it out, it actually is a grenade, and you throw it on the ground and it turns into a shield. That just means you can't equip any other grenades.
Right.
So I mean it's pretty lit.
I mean, have you tried purchasing and equipping grenades?
You just can't use your shield though.
Oh, okay, so you can
your
substitute the shield
is
for
a grenade.
Gotcha. So you can substitute your shield grenade for actual grenades.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay, I wasn't sure about that.
And then obviously you can use either your little drone or your digiclone. Two clones.
Two clones.
Two clones. As like a secondary ability, thank you.
Secondary usage. Secondary sausage.
You can't even say the word tertiary, and you don't know what a hexagon is.
I know what I just couldn't say hexagonal because it sounded like a fake word.
He's currently in the fetal position.
So done.
All right.
I think that was pretty much everything we've experienced. We're probably like level 20 in Borderlands. How many hours do you think we put in so far?
Like 2 hours.
There's no
3 hours.
It feels like 10.
It's probably 2 or 3 hours.
Play Borderlands 3. Even if you haven't played 1 or 2, go buy it right now. Tell your mom. Steal $60 out of her wallet.
Even if your mom's like 60, just
even if you're like 35, tell your mom.
Be like, Mom, I really need this.
I want Borderlands 3 and ask for some money. All right. That's all the time we have for you. Till next time.
I hope this is at all understandable to a human being.
Again, we're tired and full of ribs.
So, I mean, we're full of more ribs than we normally are. Like, obviously, we have ribs.
No, I took one out.
Oh, God. Just to suck his own penis. Anyway,
it was already...
Stay classy, gamers. We'll see you next week. This is Game and a Half Podcast, signing off.
We still haven't got the outro yet, you can tell.
This is Game and a Half Podcast, signing off. Stay classy, gamers.
Goodbye.
What?